Hi, everyone, and thank you for the great introduction. Like Anne already said, today's experts will share insights into building trust and transparent storytelling while avoiding the common pitfalls of greenwashing. And my guests of today are very special ones. I would like to start with Kirsten Siegler. She's a communication specialist with over 20 years of experience within the fashion, beauty, and lifestyle industry. You can come here. She's the co-founder of VBC Agency, which stands for Value-Based Consulting. She helps businesses to decode sustainability and D&I values and to turn their values into future opportunities. And before founding her agency, she was a spokesperson for sustainability at Zalando. And you worked there for 11 years doing multiple communication roles. So a warm welcome to you.
Thank you.
Next up, Marie Luder. Hello. Hello. Welcome.
Hey.
Marie Luder graduated at the Royal College of Art in London, and she founded Luder, her eponymous fashion brand, in 2019. She's been part of London Fashion Week previously, and now is shown at Berlin Fashion Week for a couple of seasons. And her clothing is known as being some sort of mental armor. Her clothes and talismans accompany their wearer into an uncertain future. And with doing so, she's putting mental health on the map in the fashion industry. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Next up, Nikki. Nikki de Schrijver. Nikki is a sustainable fashion expert with almost 20 years of experience in the scene. She worked for Honest Buy, which was the most transparent fashion brand that ever existed. And she founded Kosh in 2018, which is an app and online platform that guides customers to make more sustainable choices and to vote with their wallets. So welcome.
Thank you.
Then, last but not least, we have Sophie Clausen. Hi, welcome. Sophie is creative director and founder of Avenir, her fashion brand, which she started in 2020. And the two of you studied together, I just discovered. Yeah. Her mission was to create a purpose-driven fashion brand and a circular brand. And, well, so you did. Because since its start, Avenir has been dedicated to facilitating self-expression with their designs while making people aware of the endless possibilities of environmentally friendly fashion. My name is Emma Vloeimans. I'm the founder of Tribute 2 magazine, and I'm a senior editor at Harper's Bazaar. So let's delve into the topic. I want to start with you, Kirsten, because your agency helps brands to focus, plan, and activate their sustainable story. So according to you, what are the key ingredients of these types of stories?
So for us, sustainability communication can't be a story here and there. It needs a solid foundation at first. It really needs a good impact strategy with a clear plan how to reach your targets. It also needs to be linked to the company strategy and to the values of the company so that it's really intertwined and has a good foundation. Then it's important that that sustainability communication is targeted. You have different audiences like partners, customers, employees. They all have a different understanding of the topic, so you really need to put yourself into their shoes and think about what is comprehensive for them and tailor your communication. And then it's also important to make it personal. So, I mean, it's a people's story. Show the faces behind your stories and who is actually doing the work so that it gets more relatable and that people can really understand what are the faces, what are their challenges, what are they working on. And this is something that companies really struggle with. Many don't want to open their doors, don't want to show their faces because they are afraid of greenwashing or being finger pointed, but nobody has all the answers. Nobody is perfect. So open the doors, show your face, and get feedback.
That's great. And would you also recommend people to be more vulnerable as well? Is that part of it?
Definitely. Be honest. I mean, that's really a big topic and a big transformation for the whole industry. Don't pretend that you are perfect. Be honest, and that's then also a door opener for getting valuable feedback, which will make you better in the end.
And it makes it more relatable for others as well. Yeah. Thank you. Nikki, I was wondering, because transparent storytelling, you earlier said that that's some sort of oxymoron. Can you tell a bit more about it? What do you think of it, and what does it mean to you?
Because on one side you have the storytelling, but either, as I said, it's an oxymoron, but I would rather see it either you objectively, very transparently communicate about all the steps that you know, and also communicate about the steps that you don't know yet in your supply chain. And the other side is culture. You can have this really transparent culture, but then you need to be, like Kirsten said, also you need to be approachable. You need to open your doors. And one of the ways to do this is to really make Ask Me Anything sessions on Instagram or on other social platforms. And be there, because we come from this generation of designers who would only say yes to a specific interview with a specific journalist, but you need to have this open conversation with everyone.
Yeah, is that a common pitfall, you would say, to only do certain types of interviews?
Yes, because you're missing out on the audience, your buyers who have an important voice as well.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Then Marie, I was wondering, because Wallpaper magazine once called you a designer with an agenda. And another German magazine once said that your collection felt therapeutic. So I was wondering, how would you describe the deeper meaning behind your designs, and how does sustainability come into play, and how are you telling that to your audience and to your clients?
Yeah, nice question. I think my parents both work in healthcare, so I think I always felt like, oh my God, I'm not doing as much important work as they do, but how can I do it in my design work that I kind of care and admire the people who are around me and who I want to dress. So I make this like kind of garment for them who makes them feel more confident, and they can either hide or they want to mingle because they feel better through wearing it, ideally. That can be through the actual, material itself, which has like properties which are good for the skin, which was a collaboration we did with Rosie. It was really interesting material, which was had sea cell inside, so that was good for like if you have eczema or something like that. But in general, it's more about like the actual weight of a garment, the way it's cut. And then I think the trust is very important for me, because that's why I call it mental armor. So it's more for me about the interior, like kind of things which we are afraid to talk about, like mental health especially. And I think, and that's still such a taboo, and I wanted to address that. And then I think that's what I can ideally advocate through the garment, and maybe ideally not with so much words, even just like by wearing it, ideally, yeah.
Yeah, and in what way can your clothes then help the wearer become more mentally healthy, for example?
Yeah,
in what way do they support?
It's still something I'm exploring. I have no real answer. I just like want to sometimes not be seen when I'm on the bus. I put my hood up, but there's like maybe a conversation by having it like very pointy and looking very mystical and a bit humoristic. Or I have this like kind of line which is bleached on my hair, and like people think that, oh, it's like the sun like kind of catching my head like somewhere, or it looks like a halo, and I talk with everyone about it, and like it's more like a kind of conversation opener. Could be that as well.
Yeah, to make people connect more with each other as well.
Yes.
Yeah, which helps with the mental health, obviously. Yeah. And Sophie, I was wondering, you describe Avenir as circular and purpose-driven. Can you tell a bit more about these terms? How did you come up with them, and what do they mean for you?
Circularity for me means, for example, that since the beginning I was always very keen to only use what's already there, because I think once you work in the fashion industry, or maybe even before, you kind of notice that there's a lot already that you can take from, and it doesn't necessarily have to be something completely new that got developed. And I think in that sense, circularity was very, very important for me straight from the beginning. And I dived into the topic of denim a lot, because I think there's where a lot of pollution is anyways, and that's also one of the fabrics that we have around so much and we use, and then we toss them, and they still have so much potential. And even if you turn them like apart and turn them into something new, they're still so durable. I do see a change in that fabric though as well. There's a lot of elastics in it, and it's getting more. So, but that's so circular. And the other part of my brand that is so circular is that if I can't use pre-loved fabrics, I'm using resources that are also already there, like leftover fabrics sourced in Europe. And I think, from the beginning, that was the purpose of it, of not wasting more fabric or more resources, but rather use what's there. I think I really like that idea. Yeah.
Yeah. And how have you been communicating it from the start?
I think it was a mixture of the design itself. I always try to design with denim and use the technique of upcycling, but not making it so visible in a minimalistic way. So giving it that extra luxury again. So on the one hand is the visual, is the design part, and on the other hand, I think I was always talking about it as well. And I remember before I started the brand, and when I told someone, I really have this vision and I want to go for it. That was even before COVID. Before COVID, people were like, "But why would you use fabric that is already in use?" And then, events like COVID or something like that really helped for a better understanding of using what is already there. So I think it's the design. It's also what happened in the world. It helped a lot, and I think I just continuously talked about it that I want to work in that particular way.
Yeah, so you had a very strong vision. That's actually what Nikki and Kirsten already told, that the vision and the core of the brand should be there, and then the storytelling comes into play. Yeah, but it has to be part of your values. Okay. And how did you come up with the red line and the blue line approach?
I think that was a very natural development. In the beginning, I was solemnly selling these collection of upcycled denim jackets, and then I was very lucky to get to win the contemporary fashion award, which was amazing, and it gave me a chance to build for the first time really a collection. And then bit by bit, I learned also, I think, from customers' behavior, from trying out, from seeing what works, what doesn't, that I have to have these two lines within one brand. One is the blue line that is very artisanal and is really working with taking, especially denim, but also other materials apart. This season, for example, we also had army blankets, again, but like thicker ones that we took apart. And then I have the red line that is definitely, that's more the commercial line of the blue line, is the commercial answer of the blue line, but it makes sustainability or upcycling possible in that sense that we're using dead stock. And I think in the beginning you do want to upcycle everything, but then you also learn as a young brand and a young designer that obviously you also need to sell, and you have to have the possibilities to product somewhere and also be able to have a bigger production if you want to sell. So I'm really happy that we have now this double approach, because it's still, everything is still sustainable. We're still using everything that is around basically and not used, but we are now able to have more on stock or sell more on stock, and also do D2C and B2B, which is also very important to make a brand actually sustainable. It has to sustain in the end. So
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Marie, I was wondering, because you have a multi-layered story as well, have you ever struggled with telling your sustainability story to the public?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely, we're not perfect yet, and I think it's absolutely about sustainability and the kind of, financial sustainability of the brand, because I work mainly with wholesale, and there's so much problems with that the stores, they don't really, they like the story, but they, in the end, they want to sell a product, and they're not patient. And if you want to upcycle specific T-shirts, you have to source the same kind. And I think there's also a lack of understanding in the audience, or like my customers, that it's kind of, it makes it a couture kind of process. While when you upcycle a piece, it's like a lot of work, and I'm trained as a tailor, and I know how much work it is to make a new garment, and like upcycling is kind of the same amount of time.
Exactly.
So that's an issue, but you think, oh, it's old, it should be cheap, but it's not at all. So I think I struggled with that because the first collection I made was completely upcycled. I worked with my models at that time. It was lockdown, and we asked them to send me like the unwanted clothes, and I upcycled them and sent it back, and they made a video for that, and that was the content. And it was actually the cheapest collection I've ever made. It was £100, and the only thing which we had as budget, or like needed as budget, was like a Uber sending clothes back.
That's good.
And, so I was really proud of that process, and then I tried to sell that. And I think I told you before, I sold it to Browns, and I made 64 upcycled T-shirts, and they photographed 2 for e-com. So whoever bought got whatever there was left, and I ordered, maybe someone ordered a yellow T-shirt and they got a pink one and then returned it, and that was the problem. So then there was no sell-through for this item, and it ended up at TK Maxx, and I was kind of happy about that. First I was like, wow, shit, but then I was like, this is actually good. So I was in the gold section of TK Maxx and was very cheap there, but it was great that it was not incremented, which also happened. So I realized wholesale doesn't work in that way well. So I think there's a lot of in possibilities if you work in direct to consumer.
Exactly.
And I think that's anyway a good thing to do. And I'm kind of not happy that I'm trapped in this like wholesale rhythm, but also like working with the shops. So I think ideally, I should have 2 parts. One is like focusing more on the direct-to-consumer concept, but it needs a completely different approach to the brand, and I don't have a team which can do both things at the same time.
So there's focus needed in place.
Exactly.
So when you do like direct-to-consumer, you can tell your story more.
You need to do content all the time.
Exactly, and when you're doing wholesale, you have to do other garments and tell a different part of your story. Yeah,
maybe not even other garments. I just think it's a different business model in terms of you have to have a huge studio where you can take pictures all the time. It's a very different team needed. And it's very ideally you have both or
exactly
just focus on one.
But it's something to keep in mind. Yeah. And Kirsten, when talking about a sustainability story, what's the first thing you advise brands to do? Because you already mentioned keeping it to the core, but what's the first thing you usually advise?
So we tell our clients to stop using the word sustainability because it's just undefined, it's unspecific. Everybody knows it, but nobody knows what it really means. And so it adds no value to your communication to use that word. Instead, we tell them, go one level deeper and explain like how does that product, service, or your company make the lives of people better. Like for example, what Marie is doing or what Sophie is doing. Like how much waste do you save by buying this product, or how is it? Can that product be a conversation starter with people, or you add, for example, a cost per wear. Like you're buying this, but it lasts longer. You can wear it more often, so in the end you save money. So instead of sustainability, labeling everything with it's sustainable, go one level deeper, explain it, make it relatable, and then it will also drive behavior change.
Yeah. That's great advice. I think it's very practical and people really, can do something with it and take action. Yeah, because Nikki, you see like many sustainability brand stories every day, I guess. But how do you allow brands and stores to become part of Caution? What are the sustainability requirements you're looking at, or if I can still call it sustainability, but you get the point,
Yes, I definitely do. And actually, also being inspired by both your answers, how we start as Kosh, we started back in 2019 when everyone was doing sustainable storytelling. So they were highlighting one aspect of the brand where it was performing better, like for instance using previous materials. But very soon I realized you need a holistic approach to talk about sustainability. So we went more for the objective transparency. So when at the moment we have about 900 members in our network across 4 countries, but the first step is always we will do an intake meeting with the members where, for instance, we will hear everything about the supply chain, but also the struggles, like the struggle that you have with the colors. The good thing about this, I already know 5 other designers who had struggled with the same thing, and I know which solutions they implemented. So even in the first intake meeting, we tried to already give as much solutions or quick things to fit. But at the same time, we're having this conversation about the whole loop, and we check on working conditions, materials and their environmental impact, circularity, the distances of the supply chain, the use of animal material, whether it's a slow fashion brand or fast fashion, which we generally don't talk to. But now we're changing that to measuring longevity. So we're starting to measure the cost per wear of lots of brands through our digital wardrobe app, which is one of the cogs in our ecosystem. And last but not least, we're checking the transparency and the traceability of a brand and how far in the supply chain they can go back. And altogether, it creates the Koch brand index. So for a flagship, that would mean that's the way. That's the intake meeting, and then if they become a member, we will process it. We will dive even deeper and start with it. In terms of multi-brand stores, because about 30% of our network are multi-brand stores, they would join. Because we already have data of over 1,000 brands, we already know how sustainable they are from the beginning, and then we check very much like, are they looking to increase the sustainability? Are they in transition? Or are they taking or are they so stuck that they look like they're going to start taking steps back? So not everyone in the Koch community is 100% sustainable. We can't even say that anymore, but we're looking to this eagerness to improve. And then once brands or stores are part of our network, we help them to improve, educate them on legislation and materials and everything there is to know about sustainability. And we can use best practices from other countries to implement it in others.
And I hear you saying that transparency is key, like Kirsten also emphasized. Kirsten and Nikki, I'm wondering, what are the common pitfalls of brands in telling their sustainability stories?
Using the word sustainability everywhere and talking about how conscious they are, also using a lot of green imagery, that doesn't help because it creates a certain picture and certain image, and also pretending to be perfect in everything. You only, there's this thinking behind, we only go out when everything is perfect, or at least we pretend so. And that's a problem. And when you then even talk about how this product is a communication starter or this product saves waste, you always need to have the whole life cycle of the product in mind. You can't just pick out one nice little fact. You need to always think about the picture that you are painting.
Because that one nice fact doesn't make a complete story.
Exactly.
No. And Nikki, how about you? Because you were earlier discussing the common pitfalls of greenwashing. I think everyone wants to know about them.
Well, actually, I have a question for the audience. Do you know there are 7 sins of greenwashing? No. Okay, so
take notes.
With the new anti-greenwashing law, Europe is closing into false storytelling, but there's actually 7 rules. One is you can't be vague. So saying things like, oh, my brand is eco-friendly, my brand is circular, you can't do it unless you can prove it. So vague. The second one is a hidden trade-off. And I'm trying to use examples that haven't been heard a lot before, but for instance, by using recycled polyester in your collections for sportswear, when the fabric is dyed, it actually needs more chemicals. So there's a hidden trade-off. So even if you say, oh, it's recycled polyester, that's a trade-off.
That one really surprised me. I didn't know.
Another example of a hidden trade-off could be, and now I'm a bit advocate of the devil, allowing second-hand fur to be on the runway, but even though the designers know that second-hand fur, it's second-hand fur, once it enters into press, you're portraying an image of fur to the larger audience, and so that's another hidden trade-off. The third one is no proof. So if you have a lack of evidence, or if media is not fact-checking, that's no proof. Irrelevance is the fourth one. For instance, an example is downcycling plastic bottles. It's into textiles, I mean. It's completely irrelevant because recycling plastic bottles back into plastic bottles is way better. So it's irrelevant and it's greenwashing. Lesser of two evils, number 5. For instance, a fast fashion chain promoting the use of organic cotton in their lines, but at the same time not advocating for more wears. So if you use organic cotton, there's no benefit if it's only worn twice. Greenwashing by unsubstantiated affiliation. One of the things that we always check on, like if brands communicate, if they have a GOTS certificate or Ökotex certificate, we will always look for the proof and check if it's true, and very often it's not. So even there, we need to check.
That's quite surprising, though.
We need to check if the GOTS certificate is actually actual and not from 5 years ago. So that's something we often see. And then the last one is fibbing. So bluntly making false statements, being dishonest or exaggerating. And one of the examples is conscious collections. You're making conscious collections, but you're not addressing overconsumption.
We all know the big chains who do so. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before closing up, I'm wondering, I have one more question for you, for Marie and Sophie. What's the best advice you ever got about telling a sustainability story?
You can go first.
I think,
or worst advice that might help people as well.
I think today was very good
right?
advice. Yeah, I think like what you said, that you shouldn't use like sustainability as a buzzword. I think it's in the foundation. We thought about this before, and we don't want to use it in that way and make like kind of any false claims. But I think what you just told me, there were a lot of elements, and I think there's a lot of stress we have as brands and like not knowing enough. I think that's something like now after this I would love to reach out and like
and be honest
more,
and open about it.
What you were saying, like that you're kind of giving advice, because one of the problems we have is like we have to design, we have to recruit people to work with us, like so many elements as a business owner to do in your daily life that you're really trying to be on top of things, but you're so overwhelmed that you are worried. Hearing about legislation already makes me like so stressed, and I'm like, I want to do it right, but I don't know when I can read about this even. So I think like
good.
We have downloadable one-pagers in German and in English on the website.
Perfect. Great shout out.
Thank you.
Do you want to add anything, Sophie?
Yeah, I think one of the best advices is probably I got is also concentrating on maybe one thing. Like if you, for example, into the technique of upcycling, let's say, and like for us, like we're really into denim, concentrate on that, because I think you can only become an expert and you can then develop a more sustainable product, because you're gonna have an eye for the details, you're gonna know the problems of the product, you're gonna know, or of the fabric, you're gonna know the benefits of it. So I think that's actually something that I got advised by, and I can admit that's a really good thing, rather than trying this here, there, and there, and there. Find the thing that you really love, become good at it, because that already makes a sustainable product, because you're concentrating all your energy, love, and expertise into one thing. So that would be definitely one advice. And then I would also say the second one, I have to agree with Marie. I think during our beautiful education, for example, already started. It started that we that we probably always got advice to be very creative and creative and creative, which is great. But in the end, if you do want to open up your own brand and you're building your brand and stuff, there's so much more that you need to know, and there's so much more that you have to do. So I would recommend some educational places like colleges, universities, and so on to maybe teach their students a bit more than just being creative, which is great. I mean, I love that freedom of it, but I would say that
Great
would be,
advice. Yeah. Thank you.
Can I add one thing? And then maybe it should be integrated into the design you do always. And just
exactly,
like you design something new which is based on that.
Yeah.
And that's maybe solves a problem which has never been tackled. That should be our purpose, I guess.
Yeah.
So again, it should be part of the core.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you.